This is a Fox News alert. Breaking at this hour, bombshell audio for the first time ever. You're about to hear former President Bill Clinton, in his own words, admit he had the kill shot at Osama bin Laden. Remarks made a mere 10 hours before terror struck the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. Listen.
And I'm just saying, if I were Osama bin Laden, he's a very smart guy. I spent a lot of time thinking about him. And I nearly got him once. I nearly got him. And I could have killed him, but I would have had to destroy a little town called Kandahar in Afghanistan and kill 300 innocent women and children. And then I would have been no better than him. And so I didn't do it.
That newly released audio discovered by our news partner, Sky News. The audio was recorded on September 10th, 2001. The first time we're hearing A, Clinton admit to having bin Laden, and B, explaining why he let the terrorists go. This is absolutely stunning. Angela, take it around the table. Kick it off. He let him go.
I don't think this is that stunning. I don't. Bill Clinton, we know, could have gotten Osama bin Laden when he was president 2 times. The fact that he's being thoughtful about this and saying, I could have destroyed that small town in Kandahar and killed 300 people, I think these are the tough decisions that presidents make. I also know that Bill Clinton challenged the CIA on the report that they were giving about, is this an exaggerating picture of Osama bin Laden? Isn't that what presidents are supposed to do? Look, I think Bill Clinton was one of the worst presidents when it came to foreign policy, okay? He gave the Pakistanis the nuke. I know this is shocking. I'm not going to beat up Bill Clinton on this one. But I don't see what is so terrible here.
Here, I will.
With what Bill Clinton
Here, I'll tell
said.
You what's so terrible about it. We were at war. We had a terrorist who was hell-bent on killing Americans, wiping out not only Israel, but also wiping out Western civilization. He had the kill shot. He didn't take it because he was worried about some villagers who, frankly, would have been collateral damage. We lost 3,000 Americans the very next morning. Things may have been different. Are you on?
Well, that's the interesting thing. First of all, imagine if he had taken UBL out, then there would be no 9/11. Then his decision to take UBL out would not be lauded because there'd be no evidence that he prevented 9/11 because you can't prove that something didn't happen. Therefore, it is almost a nonsensical argument. I will say this. Hillary Clinton got a child rapist off. Bill Clinton let a terrorist who caused 9/11 go. What's next? Are they going to spring Charles Manson? It's a joke. I cannot condemn Clinton for this other than that he likes to tell stories. And this is what happens when you tell stories. Sometimes the stories come back and bite you in the butt.
Yeah. And sometimes the stories get exaggerated. Mm-hmm. So I spent half of today trying to remember why I didn't think this was news. And trying to figure out, I'm like, how did I had heard this before, but I think it was probably because somewhere in the White House I had heard it over time, and it's something we talked about because I think as those points are made, it wasn't all that relevant. But what I always understood when I tried to confirm today, and I'm not saying that I didn't talk to the CIA, okay, but Osama bin Laden at the time wasn't in the town. He was in a camp. So when Bill Clinton says that he would have killed all those women and children, unless he was planning on like a carpet bomb of like a huge area, then that actually wasn't going to happen. So it could be the case of when a story gets better, the more you tell it. But history is filled with a lot of near misses, almost, looking back. I think that what we lacked the most was intel, coordination, and imagination. And I think the real worry should be that the 9/11 Commission came out just last week with its first report in a decade and said that we are at risk of being as complacent as we were right before 9/11 on September 10th when Bill Clinton made these statements.
Right. And that's the relevant point for me there. He made those statements 10 hours before the terror attacks happened. Juan, it looks like I'm going to be the only one at the table that finds this absolutely astounding that hours before he killed 3,000 people, we had a shot at him, and we turned it down. I mean, look, we've understood that in the past, but we never heard Bill Clinton say it.
We don't, right, but he wasn't able to take. He didn't say he was trying to take. He was able to take him out right before, like 10 hours before.
That's right.
10 hours before the 9/11 happened, he said he had a shot.
That's when he said
Yeah, but he had it obviously many moons before.
Right.
Right. But I think that the key here is, in retrospect, it's just a bitter irony because you'd think we'd have saved 3,000 lives. So in that sense, I'm with you. That you think, gosh, we should have really emphasized getting bin Laden much earlier. And, the way I've heard this, and 9/11 Commission people have said this to me, is, there was that briefing that President Bush had up in Crawford, and they said to him there's a memo bin Laden intent on using airplanes to attack. Why didn't we put the dots together? Why didn't we do more? So I think, you think, yeah, if we'd just done it then, if Clinton had just acted when he acted, you think about all these things, Eric, but it's not that anybody is culpable and a bad person for not having done it. It's just that, as you heard from Bill Clinton, he made a decision.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is, I mean, a lot of people know how evil bin Laden was. A lot of these people never heard of him until 9/11. Right. But the thing is, you know what this story that he tells, what the lesson is? The lesson supports drones, because a drone is designed to kill a terrorist every chance you get. So every time you send a drone, you're possibly preventing a 9/11. So the consequences of that are the collateral damage of the innocents, but the knowledge that you might have killed another bin Laden will bring you no accolades because you can't prove a negative.
Can I just throw two things out there? I was literally in the building in 1993 when the World Trade Center blew up. The first time they tried to blow up New York City. Then there was the embassy bombing in 1998. My point is, look, yes, would it have changed the course of history? I think it might have, had he taken bin Laden out when he had the point, but had his chance. But here's the first time you hear a president talking about, I had the shot, and laughing it off, Dana. I mean, right?
No.
Well, I don't know. Listen, I'm the only one outraged about this.
We knew that Bill Clinton had him twice and didn't take the shot. It is interesting to hear Bill Clinton tell a story about having the shot and not taking it. And the ironic part is that happened, 10 hours before 9/11 struck. Right. So that is, I think, what's so fascinating about this. I can't ding Clinton, though, on this, because when you look and you read back the beginning of the Bush administration, they did not look at OBL the way that they did towards a post 9/11 world. Osama bin Laden, even though the CIA was talking about him, was not the figure that he is today. Okay, a lot of administrations, Bill Clinton, they missed him. They did, and we can do hindsight and rearview mirror, but it looks like Bill Clinton, he shouldn't have laughed in that tape, but he was being very thoughtful about how he handled it. And that's what presidents do. They make tough decisions. And the problem I have now is we have a president who seems weary of making tough decisions.
Okay, here we go. But look, I'm just saying, you remember, let's put this in some historical context.
Sure, no.
You had the bombings in Tanzania, you had the bombings in Kenya during Clinton's watch. And after that time, Clinton does pursue bin Laden, but he misses him. Well, and he has opportunities for shots.
Did he miss someone?
Yeah,
or
he did.
Did he choose not to take the shot?
No,
like
he took shots. He took shots before. No,
he just said, I didn't take the shot because I didn't want to kill 300
No, he's talking specifically about that moment in Kandahar. But the reality is, he was, not only that, he was giving aid to the Pakistani Secret Service to try to find bin Laden at that point. So it wasn't that he was not doing anything.
I also think that it's whoever would have been in office at the time in 1999, say it's Joe Blow, I think logistically and politically it would have been very difficult for them to actually have carried it out. Logistically, because it's such a huge area and like hard to check. And the other reason, and this is both logistically and politically, there wasn't a coalition of people against the war on terror at the time. So I think it would have been very hard for him to do politically with not only our Congress, but certainly in the region.
Okay. And the thing is, to Juan's point, you know what? President Obama might have killed 15 or 20 bin Ladens already with drones. We'll never know. We'll never know.
Listen, now I know what Bob feels like sitting around the table.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with you.
No, but I find it really outrageous. I think it's crazy that he admits.
We find it tragic. I don't think it's outrageous. It's tragic.
Okay. Different adjective.
Yeah.
All right. But let me see if you find this one outrageous. Really, really disturbing video. Check out Mohammed Abu Salha, a 22-year-old Florida man who blew himself up in a suicide bombing in Syria just weeks ago. Salha is believed to be the first American suicide jihadist.
You think you're safe where you are in America or Britain or Indonesia? You think you are safe? You are not safe. Those people who died on 9/11 doesn't justify of when the Americans were back in Iraq before 9/11. You think, that you killed Osama bin Laden, you did nothing. You sent him to Jannah, alhamdulillah. You sent him to paradise. You think that you won? You have never won. We are coming for you. Mark my words.
Okay, now here's the scary part. Before blowing himself up, Salha returned to the U.S. for months after receiving training in Syria. What were the signs? More importantly, will there be more? And will the next one be on our soil? How about this one? Like,
What? Well, this shows how religious extremism offers a path to losers. Satisfied winners don't choose a death cult. Only losers do, and it's really clear that guy is a loser. The other thing is, I mean, we talk about signs and stuff. He was definitely communicating with somebody in the United States to somebody outside the United States. That's what spying is all about. Snowden, you can credit him for tipping these guys off. Now these guys know they're being spied on.
Okay. Dana, does this scare you when you see a 22-year-old Florida
Remember, we
guy
were talking about the
suicide?
foreign fighters who are being trained in Syria. Now, I was looking at Stratfor, and I have to give credit to Scott Stewart, who wrote a great piece on that website about the whole phenomenon of foreign fighters and trying to put it in context for people like me who wanted to understand it better. So the estimates are around in the low thousands. There are foreign fighters who have been trained in Syria. They go there because they want to fight. They're like this guy. They have jihad on the brain. But they have Western passports, so they can travel out of there. And now it's not that easy to get in and out of Syria at the moment, but it can be done. Often they're trained not necessarily in the art of blowing oneself up. It's actually more hand-to-hand combat to fight with them. But I think that the intel point is very important, and I worry that it's only a matter of time. I imagine if the CIA director, if there's anything that keeps him up at night, it is somebody like this.
Yeah. This is what I hear all the time. I mean, right now, the big threat is that there are so many Americans, people with American passports. And by the way, this thing with him eating the passport, what is that guy? He's a loon. You said he's a loser? He's a loon. Anyway.
And he's culturally appropriating.
Yeah. But then the idea is that they go over and they say, oh, you know, I have some loyalties to one side or another in the Syrian conflict, or they're in Iraq, or they're in Sudan, you know. And all of a sudden, they have American passports. You're not sure where they are overseas. Then they come back home. Now, what's interesting to this story to me is, you know, he didn't do anything here in the United States. He's a suicide bomber. Yeah. He could have done something here. Well, thank God.
It was too difficult for him to get it done here, so he had to go.
Yeah, there's no question that he didn't do it here and he did it over there because it's far easier to do it over there, which is a good sign. But I agree with Dana. I think it's only a matter of time before they hit us. I'm sure there are plenty of terrorists plotting to kill us right now. The problem is we have a president that has proclaimed on a national holiday in the United States that we're not at war with Islam. We have a president who's gutting our defense budget to pay for Obama phones. We've got an administration right now that does not go after Hamas for being a terrorist organization. In fact, the opposite, has the spokeswoman at this Department of State legitimize their position, and almost the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, explain away that. So we're screwed. We're in big trouble. It's just a matter of time.
You know what I think, though? It's amazing that we haven't been attacked.
And that's to credit to the men and women in our intel and also to law enforcement. Because once they had the Patriot Act that broke down the wall between intel and FBI sharing information, they're able to coordinate a lot better. So they've disrupted a lot of attacks. The big ones, it's these little ones that might not cause the big catastrophic damage that we saw of huge terrorist attacks, but they could cause enough psychological damage to the country to do irreparable harm to us.
Final thought?
Yes, and to tease for the next segment, not only does this call for enhanced military and droning and a spy network that we can trust, but an impenetrable border.
There you go. Next on the 5.